and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome again, everybody. Joanne, can you do roll call, please?
Dr. Bloom is excused this evening. Jen Coleman.
Here.
Gregory Bernard.
Here.
Aaron Chapia.
Here.
Jay Erickson.
Here.
Mark Friedman.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. First item on the agenda is John and Dean Bloomberg, 63 River Road, for a time extension. John Kalin.
Good evening. John Caitlin, DC Engineering. We're back before you guys to request a time extension for the Blumbergs. Working out some attorney issues with the easements right now. So as soon as we get those sorted out, we'll be wrapping it up and all done. Spoke with Mike for a moment about it, and it's pretty straightforward. We just got to get somebody to sign it off on this for us.
So you sure on 90 days?
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. It's
Is
pretty,
it worth it making it, I mean, my only thought was to make it 180 days, so you don't have to come back here, and if nothing is changing.
yeah,
I think that's reasonable. I think that's fair.
appreciate it. Sure. Thank you.
All right, so if someone can, Jay, you want to make that motion for 180 days, starting from February 3rd, 2025?
I'll make a motion to make a time extension on the approval for John and Deanne Bloomberg, 63 River Road, for 180 days, starting on February 3rd,
2025.
2025.
All right, motion, second. Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No discussion. Motion passed.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you, John.
guys. We'll take care of it.
Thanks, John.
Be in touch.
All right. Second item on the agenda is Starkdale Park letters. We all had homework.
Yep.
We had two letters, one from me and one from SLR, that we had to go over for any revisions. Did everybody read both those memos? Mark,
Yep,
any additions, comments?
thought it was very thorough.
All right.
We had no additional comments from.
I as well. Jen, did you have anything?
No, I think the combo is very good for them because the SLR plus the letter. Good bullets for them.
All right. I'm not going to ask Jay because he's probably going to have two comments.
I'm good.
You have no comments? Okay.
No, I think it's thorough.
All right. Both letters? The one from the planning board and one from the SLR?
Yeah, I read that one too.
Okay.
I think I'm fine with that.
All right. So if we can get a motion to, for me to sign both letters or at least one of them
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
and send them.
I'll make them for you.
All right, Jen?
I'll make a motion for the planning board to send the Starkdale memo and the letter from our chairman to the town board regarding the Starkdale project.
Second? Second by Greg. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? All right. Motion passed for both letters. All right. Third item on the agenda, Mima's Pizza and Pasta. Come on up. Sign application.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
This application came in a little late, so we just squeezed it in on the agenda. Everybody should have got all the paperwork. Does anybody have any questions about the sign
There's a sign.
location?
Is there a diagram?
This is a replacement?
Yeah, it's attached to
Here,
the,
you want, here, look at my file. That's where the sign is located. Flip the
Yeah.
next page, it's the new sign.
so it's the same size. It's the same size. It's just a new.
Yeah, it's
sign
the
at the
same,
same
yeah.
spot.
Just a new logo.
New
Everything
logos.
is the same, nothing.
Yeah, same sign.
Yeah,
I just got one question for you. Do you make good pizza or what?
of course. That's what I'm here for.
Okay.
It's Mimas, not me. We have it on our agenda as Mimi's, but it's
Mimis,
Mimas. Just
The Mimas.
Mimas with an A.
Mimas.
Oh, okay.
Mimas, the emphasis on the me.
As long as the sign says Mima's, I think we're going
Oh,
to
yeah,
be
they-
okay.
That should be on the sign too.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions, comments?
Looks good. It's in black and white on the pylon?
Yes.
That's not, okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
pretty
what it is.
straightforward.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was just the copy or. Great.
Maybe we could just have the code enforcement officer sign off on it as a condition?
They-
Or have they looked
Well-
at it?
So they get approval from the planning board, and then they have to apply for a building permit,
Right.
and as part of that, they'll have an
Like
inspection.
that's built in, right, right,
Yeah.
okay, yep.
All right, so all we need is a motion to approve the sign as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign for Mima's Pizza and Pasta.
All right, Mark, a second.
Second.
Second by Jen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Mima's Pizza and Pasta sign is approved.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. Congratulations.
Okay, this one.
All right. Fourth item on the agenda is Crystal Park, 168 South White Rock Road. Welcome back, Dawn. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How you doing?
Good.
Good. It's been a while. Good to see you all. Dawn McKenzie, registered landscape architect from Insight Engineering Surveying Landscape Architecture. Joining me tonight,
Kurt Johnson.
Kurt Johnson, J Group Designs. We're here to talk to you about Thomas Chen's Crystal Park. It's been a while since we've been before the board about this site, and since that time, I'm just gonna. Now I know there's new board members. I don't know if anybody needs me to go through the site plan, help you go through the property on the plan and
Yes,
get you
please.
oriented.
I think there's only two of us that are familiar.
That are
with the
familiar?
property.
Okay,
We
so that's
just started at
fine.
the very beginning.
All right.
Yeah, start at the
you.
very beginning, if you don't
All
mind.
right. How close do I need to be to the mic for this? Okay. So just to get you oriented to the site, pick it up because I'm short. We've got South White Rock Road up here, and that's where the frontage is for the site. It's actually 137.6 acres, and a portion of it is over here on the west is in the town of Beekman. It also has some frontage over here on South Road. On the south side of the property, there is a DEC wetland here, and actually the lake at the bottom of the hill is included in that DEC wetland, and they have actually flagged portions of wetlands in that location, in this location over here. Located on the site, there's actually an existing house right here. There was a garage in this location which burned down, and I know the applicant has been trying to get a building permit to replace that. There are elevated walkways and steps that go down the hill. There's a dock in the pond, and a good portion of that is in the DEC wetland. There are existing trails that run throughout the site. In addition to that, there's a Quonset hut, which is located right there. It's a wood structure. There's animal pens and sculptures and gardens on the site. And there is actually existing access with a gate off of South White Rock Road from this location right here that comes down towards the lake. And there's actually another gate at this driveway off of South Road over there. If you've been up and down South Road or been on South White Rock Road, you can see them. They're metal gates that say Crystal Park. And that's just a general overview of the site. So I know that Kurt has been working with the town on some violations that they've had for the property, structure violations and other types of things. And he's been dealing with the building department on that, and he can give you more detail on that if you need that. From our perspective, Insight, we developed the site plan, and In 2016, which I'm sure you're probably aware, they got a wetland violation from DEC, which they've worked through and went and developed an order of consent. And we worked with DEC on doing a wetland remediation plan for that, which actually was executed except for the last piece, which involved permanently lowering the water level. So basically what they had done is raise the dam and raise the water level and flooded 2 wetlands in this the one here and one over here. And DEC wanted the water level permanently lowered and remediation work to be done. So we worked through that with DEC, minimized the trails, reduced those, and did a bunch of other things. And everything on that remediation plan and the consent order with DEC was completed for the wetland violation, except for the work to the dam. Then our office and a geotechnical engineer worked with DEC. There was a consent order for the dam violation, dam safety violation. They developed plans to rehabilitate the dam, and that has still to be executed, that work.
So what's the whole purpose?
The purpose of why we're here?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I know you told me everything about the history of the property.
right, yes,
And
just to make sure that everyone's up to date on
Yeah.
that. So,
Please,
all right,
for the record.
you want to lead that part?
I think that this board or previous members on this board have been asking.
There's only 2, Kurt.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
quite some time to have a master plan in place for the park. I don't think anyone has anything against the concept of the park. It's just a matter of this board has been asking to get a document in front of them so we can start really kind of honing in and discussing what's going on there and things like that. I have been working with the building department for the past several years, just trying to clear up some violations that they do have on the site. So we've been working towards that goal. There still are a couple things outstanding. But I think maybe it might behoove everyone here, yep,
What's the game plan?
to get a master plan approved.
What are we doing on the property? What exactly is going on here?
So the proposed features on the property are actually some sculptures. So,
And the purpose is for viewing, for public viewing?
It's not really public. It's more if it's a private thing. He doesn't invite the public there on their own accord. It's a private thing. He invites people to the park.
as his guests.
As his guests, yes. It's kind of his personal project that he's got these things going on there, so.
Right. Because then we hear of like people getting bussed up.
I think he
And
does
so on and so
bring some
forth.
of his
Excuse me,
employees.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm general counsel to Mr. Chen and this project. Hi, nice to see you again. There is a litigation matter that's going on.
With who?
Allstate.
Allstate
claim
insurance.
With regard to the.
And how does that regard to the town of Pawling?
Oh, I just want to make clear, this is a private residence that Mr. Chen
Right.
has guests, friends, family that come up to enjoy it.
I've seen large buses myself, Mr. Sarko.
I just
wait
want
a
to make
second.
sure
Oh,
the
whoa, whoa.
record's clear that it is a private
Wait a
residence.
second. Let's step back here for a second. Sure. There is violations on the property. I did get an email from the building department today. Were you copied on that at all, Dawn?
No.
So I'll read it in, this is from Everett White. I'll read it into the record. The property owned by Thomas Chen, located at 134 South White Rock Road in Holmes, has numerous open permits and unresolved violations on the property, such as the existing deck on the Conquest or Hut
Quonset hut.
and the existing elevated walkway. Our office will not be issuing permits or conducting inspections until these issues are addressed. And that's dated February 18th, 2025 at 1:46 p.m. today.
Right, and we were also told that
Okay,
he
so-
couldn't get any more building permits until we got a master plan approved. So that's why we're here.
Okay.
Okay,
Right, there are issues that need to be worked out.
there's a lot of issues here.
Yes,
So,
and we're here to start this piece of the conversation.
this
with
is
you
a
folks.
residential area. Am I right? Where are we?
What's the zone?
It's the R3
R3?
district. Yes.
Yeah, R3, and we're having commercial buses with people come up to this property to view certain sculptures?
Well, I think the process that we need to start with the board here is really digging in and going through the items on this. I believe it's classified as a private club.
Okay, so that was my question. So just pull back for a second. You guys, this is not a public hearing, so.
Yeah, please, please keep your
We need-
comments.
We just needed to get the conversation going again.
Okay.
Yes,
You
that's
folks,
what
right?
we
And
need to do.
What you need from us.
Well, okay, so we're trying to contextualize it into
Yes.
our process. So
Thank you.
we don't deal with violations, right?
Right,
per
no,
se.
we're not here specifically.
It's information to a
talking about the
process. The
violation.
process is,
Right.
if someone wants to do something in their private residence, that's not our purview as long as it falls within by right approval. There are things that you can do in a residential zone, and you guys know this, I'm just iterating this for getting everyone level setting, with a special use permit. That's the our only thing to do, that we can do. If they're applying for a special use permit to do something other than a residence in an R3, right? That's within a list of permitted uses by special use. So the first question that I have is, you are applying, I assume, for a special use permit. Otherwise, there's no reason for you to be here. So is that correct?
I think that may be a good possibility that it needs to fall under that special permit to get this whole thing kind of wrapped up under that, so that this board can look at everything.
If you're in a residential district, you're either here to apply for a special use permit or you're not. And if you're not, then you're not here.
I don't think we've made formal application of anything yet. I
Sure,
think
so we're just
trying to
talking
really
about the
get-
process. So out of this special use permit, there's a bunch of stuff you could do. I think you can have a hospital, a higher institution of higher learning, like there's a whole list of scheduled permitted uses with special use permits. So what is it that you're seeking? To Aaron's point, what is it that you're seeking in terms of a permit? What's the use?
What's the use, yeah?
You
I
mentioned
think-
the word club.
Yeah, and I think we need to work, because I know that there's been a lot of back and forth with the town and the boards of what's actually going on there. I think we need to work with the board and kind of really tighten that up and what we can't do on the site.
I don't know.
But I think another way to look at that is, what does the owner want to do on the site? That should be identified. What are the activities? So, we have letters from the community, we have Everett talking about, our building code enforcer talking about violations, but we need, as part of the application, clarity, what does that look like? So if he's operating private club, how many people are coming, how often,
course.
what size are the cars, what are the hours, how does that impact the wetland, right? There's a whole bunch of things that have to be defined. And so to Jay's point, I think we could share you could find out what is within the context of a special use permit, but the owner needs to have a definition of what they're applying for. And it sounds, I'm new, so I'm just reading all the background information, but it sounds to me that up until this point, the owner has been going forth with usage that he wants to do without that kind of application. So it sounds like there's some rough spots around that.
I would just reiterate that what they're saying is, if you look in the code, it's very clear what a special use is allowable in an R3 zone or residential zone. So whether it's on that list or not, that's what he has available to him to do. And, there may be a club on that list. I don't know. But if that's what he's doing, then you would come in and you would say, we're trying to build a private club as an example, and the code would have various rules and regulations based around that use. And we would have to try to meet them. And that would be the process as I see it.
Mike, you had your hand up.
So the use is determined by the code enforcement officer. He's the arbiter of the code. He makes the first determination as to whether or not the use is permitted or not permitted.
The use that's applied for.
That's right.
We don't even have that.
No. And look, I haven't thought about Chen in forever. So
Yeah.
I'm coming at this even, from just historic information. I think it's been a few years before, since I've last had an interaction on, with regard to Thomas Chen.
Excuse me. Sorry to interrupt you. Thank you. We're going to say thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Call it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for your time.
We're not trying to shut anything out. We have a process and we
Understood.
need to follow
Thank
it.
you.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're here to review the permits as they're applied for.
We're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Was this Chen? Do you need that?
That's, Tracy's.
That's Trempson. Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is this?
Can you email this to us? No, I'll keep these, but you can also email it too. You want one? Did you
Is
give
this,
one to Mike?
Yeah.
this is today?
Yes, that was a response.
I got it.
Traffic.
I got it.
Okay, you want to give one to Ken?
Yeah, I need one.
Okay.
Sorry about that interruption. I had no idea
No,
that
no
they were here.
worries.
My client's in Taiwan, actually meeting them next week, so.
Okay. Organized here. Too many papers tonight. All right, Trempson Wood Products, 84 Libby Lane. Site plan discussion. How you doing, John?
Good. Mr. Chairman, members, we're here tonight to discuss what we have recently submitted, which were responses to the last round of questions and concerns that the board had back in December. And it took us a while to put everything together, but I think we covered everything so far that has been asked of us, and including a updated site plan that Mr. Atkinson's going to talk about. And we also did receive a copy of finally, the traffic analysis by your consultants. I did see our consultant couldn't make it tonight, but that's what I handed everybody, was basically their response to all of these. So in that context, I'm sure you'll have a chance to digest that at some point in the future. If necessary, we could talk about it tonight.
So what you just handed us is from your consultant,
Correct.
which is not here this evening?
Correct.
Okay.
And he was.
We have our consultant, Ken Westward, here that wrote the traffic study. Ken, you want to come up and, Mike?
I think before we dive into traffic, it's probably appropriate just to let Trempson's representatives just bring you up to speed as to what's gone on since, you know, what the last submittal was. I think that'd be helpful as just a starting point.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Mike, you want to do it, or?
No,
All I'm saying is
our consultant.
just let
Oh, okay.
them run through their submittal. It'd be helpful for for the board to just have an understanding of what was submitted.
Yes, perfect.
Before we drop into traffic.
Turned over to Todd Atkinson's, our engineer, who prepared the updated plan and the submittal. I think there was a cover letter to the submittal as well that came in explaining everything, but I'm going to have Todd. Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you. Todd Atkinson with Fulchetti & Associates, Mr. Chairman, board. Just going to run through some of the things that were done here over the last 2 months since we last met, or 6 weeks or so. First off, we submitted a new site plan. This is updated to reflect a couple different things that were requested to the board. As well, we submitted a Trempson statement of use that was assembled between myself, the Trempson Company staff, as well as John Zarcone. Right off the bat, I'll point out that we've now using the September 2024 aerial as requested by the board, so you get a good understanding of what the site looks like out there under the snow. We had a violation that came about that we found out about in November from the New York State DEC. That violation was pertaining to the tree debris that was located on the north side and the west side of site number 4, which is the back area closest to the swamp. The tree debris in that location was deemed to be needed to be removed. We put together an environmental plan, submitted that to the town. The town approved that. We also submitted a work plan to the DEC. They approved it as well. That work has been completed and then was inspected by the DEC on January 24th, 2025 to their acceptance. And we're just awaiting correspondence from them just to state that. But based on the meeting that we had, they determined that all the tree debris was removed and the site was stabilized as best it could for the time being. Future stabilization would also still need to occur based on the winter months right now. The soil is not right to be maneuvered around, nor is it right to have seed and or hay and or hydroseeding, which we're proposing to be added to the site, done at this time. So we'll revisit that in the spring as we move forward. The other things that were done was the soil was removed, tree debris. We also filed an application to register with the New York State DEC as a mulching facility. Based on the amount of mulch that we had on the site, that was not a requirement, but in order to make sure that this board is happy with us being in compliance moving forward, we actually filed that and we're waiting for final review from the DEC at this time. We also established the 4 tenant locations, which would be numbers 1, 2, 5, and 6. On these, we delineated and put the yellow delineations to point out where we're looking at having those sites be memorialized for the tenants. We provided the uses of the tenants in the document that was a statement of use, as well as their hours of operation and other items that were discussed as part of the requirements in the previous letter from the board. And then we also took the wetland delineation from March 17, 2023 that was completed by the New York State DEC, Sarah Paulwitz, and we placed that onto the plan and also outlined the 100-foot buffer on the plan to reflect where that falls. At this time, if there's any questions, I can discuss it further, but those were what we believe most of the items that were requested at the last meeting in response. No, over in the corner, over there. No, this is not the right plan.
That's the old, yeah.
So this is the old one that doesn't
What
bins.
the bins, yeah.
Here's the latest plan.
Yeah. Sure.
That's that.
Yep, that's that.
It's the same one.
I guess this is the only wetland part.
So the mitigation on the berm, Todd.
Yes.
The mitigation on the berm was supposed to be a barrier for sound.
Correct. The berm, the tree debris that was stacked on top of the soil berm was removed. The soil was reshaped in order to actually obtain the same height and in some places higher than what was previously there. Not a lot, but about a foot difference in some areas. What that did was it removed the voids that were in between stumps and whatnot where some could travel through. And now you have solid soil going up to the height in the berms.
All right, so the last time we spoke, you were supposed to hook up with Ron Gaynor and...
I did, yep.
How did that go? Ron's not here this evening.
Based on the discussion, that's what we discussed where the delineations were. There are a couple areas that we discussed that will have to be brought in probably slightly based on the 2014 plan. But right now, this is what was discussed in that meeting with him in late December, early January.
What would you say is the difference in the height of the berm with the debris on it, and now with the debris off of it, you said you reshaped it. What's the height of the berm?
The height is actually higher in most areas by upwards of a foot.
But does that help with the sound?
I believe it helps with the sound because it eliminated all the voids. What I really recommend, and I don't want to speak for this, but a site walk, I think, would give you a good understanding of what the berm looks like from both on the site and as well as off the site in the other areas to the west.
This would be our third or fourth site walk on this property as a board, but.
So I think, are you saying you think that, and let's just stay with the visual impact and mitigation. Do you think the berm is good the way it is, or are you saying there's more to be done?
There's more to be done as far as stabilization is concerned. What I'd like to discuss, I discussed with Ron, was that there was potentially for some screening, but when you see the berm from the further west and then from the north, you're not, so looking from this direction, so from like Holiday over, and then from Mr. Mr. Adams' property this way, screening would be just screening on top of a berm that really doesn't block the view of anything. It's blocking the sky out beyond them. So that's why requesting a site walk would really be helpful, I think, because you would be able to see, based on the top of the berm looking from Holiday, that anything we put on top of the berm is not going to block anything other than a view shed above the site.
But we're also talking about sound as well.
We are, correct. Yep.
Right.
So how do we mitigate that? You know, we can
I believe the soil berms actually help.
We could
the
stand in a
sound.
trench down in the bottom of that corner.
Mhm.
You could still hear it on Holiday Street. You know, how do we mitigate that? Is the DEC going to allow you to put any plantings on top of the berm or no?
They would, yes, but the plantings on top of the berm would actually be higher than the current tree canopy, meaning above the current trees that are next to the
Well,
berm.
What's the height of the berm?
Certain species, right?
Walter has.
Yeah, there's a letter, yeah.
Some parts are 100 feet.
Yeah, I don't think that's true, but
Yeah.
Walter, yeah.
100 feet high.
there's no way it's 100 foot tall.
But that's
We
our.
did a laser measure, my client did a laser measure, it's not even, it's maybe 25 feet.
Yeah.
Tops.
And the typical canopy here is like 60 feet, 50 feet.
Mhm.
So you're saying, if you put a tree on top of 25 feet, it would be 40 feet?
Well, some of the trees that
For
on this
brush,
side
you know,
that
I
are
mean-
in. I'm sorry.
You could put something that grows low and absorbs sound. I mean,
I
it
think,
doesn't have
yeah.
to be a tree.
Well, Walter in his memo, the sentence that encapsulates it very well. Typically, a desirable screening method to mitigate visual impact and noise impact would be a planting of a staggered line of coniferous or evergreen trees, variations of pines, spruces, which, are going to, you can have species in white pine, et cetera, that's not going to get 60 feet. So I think, I think we're aware of the there's a few things to mitigate here, but the visual impact and the noise impacts are the biggest things. It's clear. So I think we want to spend some real time considering what the best solution is. And I'm hearing from you that there is no visual mitigation because you can't see anything from anywhere.
That is what I'm saying.
No,
correct?
it's not. You could see everything from Holiday. You could see a lot from Holiday Street. You can still see it. You can hear it.
Mr. Chairman, I went over there for the first time last month with Todd.
That's okay. I've been there 3 times.
And and I brought military-grade binoculars that were designed for seeing through everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I could see from Holiday, besides the berm, was the trailer that MJD used. And that's no leaf cover. So what I'm asking the board to do, and I know you said you've been there 3 times, what we're asking the board to do is to, and some of you haven't, to come to the site, take a look, and we're going to have that grinder running. And what
from the site, I've been
Yeah.
there. I've been on Holiday Street separately 3 times. I've been to the Trempsons on 84 Libby Lane. I've been to MJD 3 times, and what you see from Holiday Street and what you see from Trempson's is 2 different things. One's lower, one's higher. So the vantage point from Holiday Street looks down onto Trempson's and hears it. Am I correct, Tyler, or not? Am I close to it?
I'm going to jump in right here. So that area that MJD is in has been there as that was the, that shop's been there since, I think, the other, maybe. So that's a higher elevation. This doesn't show topo. So you can see the berm is, I kind of hope you guys, I mean, if you don't do a sidewalk.
And the berm is on the lower end of the topo.
Well, it's here. So if you look in areas 4, 3, you cannot see across.
That's the
two.
berm looking at. Oh,
But this area, you can see the backs of these trailers here.
yeah.
But that's a higher, much higher topo than, if you've been to the site, I think folks would remember that this is low, this is lower, and then this is the highest point in the site. So you will be able to see this, and how much we can see. This has always been what it is now. So I think there's a difference between seeing, we talk about seeing Tremson and our Tremson's operations on this site, and then seeing trucks and trailers parked there that are at where the MJD is.
So my client's willing to do whatever it takes, mitigation-wise, what the board recommends, but what we're asking is for some of the members who've never been here to come to the site, take a look. We're gonna get that grinder going, then we're gonna go over to Holiday, and we're gonna listen and hear it. And that will help with ideas of how to mitigate if needed. I've got a picture of the berm here facing Holiday, if you wanna just pass it around.
So this is actually facing out.
So this is the Tremson inside?
This is a Tremson side,
Uh-huh,
sitting right here,
okay,
looking towards Holiday, which is over where it says Legend in the corner.
okay.
So it's about a 22-foot high berm. And you are correct, there is a little bit of elevation going over to Holiday.
Yeah.
When you measure the, just for clarification, when you're
Yes.
measuring the berm and you said you shot it with a laser, is that from the Tremson property or is that from, and then what is the difference in elevation on the, is there a difference in elevation on the other side and what is it? Do you see what I'm saying?
I wouldn't want. Only on the Tremson side. We haven't shot the other side.
Okay.
We can.
Is there a big difference though in elevation on the bottom side? Like, in other words, could it be 25 feet from the Tremson side and 50 feet from,
It does, I'm looking from Holiday, the berm is actually higher. That's looking towards Holiday from Tremson side.
Right.
So that's 22 to 24 feet right now.
Right, and so-
On the other side is probably between 28.
So Todd, if you're there, it looks like there's a mountain in front of you.
Correct.
And Holiday Street is looking down.
Holiday
You know,
Street-
like a mountaintop. You know, pretty much.
I don't think there's that much of an elevation change, but that's why we're asking to go look at it.
I mean, I'm looking at the topo right now. So Holiday Street starts at like 460 and it goes up to the back Holiday Street up to about 480. In the low area of where the berm is between 450 and 440. But MJD in that area is at it's a little bit above 460. So if you're at someone's at 480, 470, they're looking and they could see, to your point, they would be able to
Right,
see
but,
that knoll at MJD, but.
It's not, the noise isn't coming from MJD. from
No, I'm
Holiday.
just
It's
saying
coming
with the
from-
visual. I think
It's coming from the other direction, if you sit there. If you
100%.
sit there for 45 minutes.
No, 100%.
Like,
I mean,
I've done
the
on
noise
three
control
different
alone
occasions.
might be the reason to
It's not
put-
coming from MJD.
And would
Put the
we be okay
conifers.
with putting a line of screening across the top of the berm? You can see the height of the trees. You were right, there's about 60 foot is probably the height of the trees.
On the other
Right?
side.
So
Yeah.
If we add, another 10 or 12 foot tree that will grow to 20 feet, we'll be at.
Not so high.
48 feet at that point. But when these trees actually have leaves on them, you can't see anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're already into the canopy at this height.
Yeah, and if
John,
you
what do you,
get
what are
bushy
you,
trees like
what are,
white pine.
what are we suggesting here? What's the next steps here?
What we would like to do is.
We're running out of time
We're
here.
running out of time, right. So I talked to Mike about it. What we ask is if the board could plan a site visit either this week or next week, early next week. We'll get the grinder going. You'll come on Trenson's property. You'll see the berm up front. We'll go over to Holiday. Neighbors are welcome to join us. And we'll have the grinder going and we'll from there, you, the board, will come back and tell us what you recommend.
What's the next steps after that?
And then we're asking for a special meeting to discuss a conditional site plan approval. Conditional meaning if there are mitigations that you're recommending, my client says we'll do it, it's a condition, right? And with that, we can stipulate to discontinue the litigations without prejudice. Because right now,
Why can't we do that now? Why can't we have a little more time to discuss this?
I wanted to give time. I asked Michael yesterday, so you got to discuss it with him. I did recommend it.
What gives?
In the mic.
Mike.
There's a deadline of February 28th for the exchange of certain discovery. And then March 6th is a compliance conference. When we made a request for an extension previously from the court, those are the dates that were given back to us.
But I was asking for consent to extend that again, because I felt we were making progress, so if.
We are making progress.
Well,
We want to
to
work
him.
with you. We want to.
Hang on.
Wait a second. We want to avoid litigation on the town's part. We want to avoid litigation on Trempson's part. We don't want any more litigation. Let's figure this out. Can we figure this out? Can we put this off?
I want to. I asked Michael today.
I don't.
Michael,
You're the client. You tell me, hey, look,
Put
either
it off. We want more time.
Well, look, I can't say that the judge is going to agree, but I'm happy to
Please.
consent to asking.
We're willing to work with the client, and let's mitigate
We'll
it.
submit the letter
Great.
tonight to the court. That's on consent. My client has authorized me to extend that shot clock for another 45 days.
That's appreciated.
And
Thank
we, this way we don't have the
Pressure.
noose around our necks.
Well, I think the pressure cuts both ways. I think it
Yeah.
Yes,
gets
it
people to
does.
focus
I understand.
and try and move through this process, and so we can't lose any of that urgency.
We know. That's
It'll
why
be beneficial
45
on
days.
on both parties.
Yes, 45 days that's still urgent.
Yeah.
That means we're looking to put this to bed, hopefully within that period of time.
Yes, please.
So,
Go ahead.
so now we've addressed, so I think if we think about the kind of categories of conditions, right, that we've been over. The first is noise and view shed, so that's like one category that we're talking about here. Then the second big category, in my view, is traffic. So obviously, we assessed the traffic study, we got your answers back now, we have to look at that. But I think it's thinking that's the other piece, is
Right.
those
Those
two seem like the big those
Yeah.
three to me seem like the big hurdles to set conditions.
Well, we
around.
have Ken here that wrote the traffic study.
Before we jump to that, sorry, did you want to say something? Oh, before we jump to that, I just want to, did you guys get Walter Artis's,
Yes.
you've read this?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
About the 100-foot.
The 100-foot berm, but also just his concerns about the stabilization and whether or not that's possible. You're aware, and you are prepared to address his comments on that, and.
Yeah.
Okay, just asking.
Can I just speak to Walt? I talked to Walt before the meeting because I was also curious about the 100 feet. He didn't change any position on the height, but I think the thing that's critical is the end of Walt's comments relate to a civil engineering issue about the stability of the berm, the slope. That would get transferred over to Ron as our civil engineer. So Walt has pointed that out, but Walt isn't the professional that deals with that. It would be Todd and Ron. So I just want to point that out. Okay?
Well, the DEC is going to be involved because they're going to follow up with their violation, that they want to make sure that this berm is going to be stabilized.
I don't know if that's exactly correct. So I'm not trying to split hairs here, but I think DEC's primary concern is likely the removal of the tree debris.
Yeah.
I don't know if they express an opinion on the quality or the stabilization of the berm. I'm not an expert on that part, but I think the primary jurisdiction was the removal of the tree debris. But I haven't seen the violation. I don't know what that DEC violation actually says.
Right.
So, if we could get a copy of that, that'd be helpful. But the actual stability, the point that Walt was raising was, hey, look, there could be some issues there. I just wanted to split the hair and say it's an engineering issue, though. And that's something that would be worked out between Todd and Ron as to ultimately what the stabilization is and whether the slope, the 2-on-1, the 1-on-1, if,
Yeah, because, not to interrupt you, but my point in bringing it up is not whether it's 100 feet or not, that can be measured, but the concern that the hydro seeding and the other proposed methods for stabilizing would not be appropriate, and that also that the staggered line of coniferous trees may not be viable either. So I'm just curious to see that addressed.
Definitely. Those are very valid concerns, and, as Michael said, these are the engineering questions that Todd and Ron will address and hopefully satisfy the board.
Okay.
I mean, I think even if the visual, we can maybe go out and do a site visit, but even if assuming that there is no visual impact to be mitigated because the berm itself is enough, wouldn't we want to entertain it for sound control purposes?
Yeah.
Plantings.
Yeah, that's fine.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we'd like to see a proposal of, I think what the gist is and what we're looking for, and like, these are the species, this is how they're going to be staggered, and we'd love to see that on the plan. That is a landscaping plan essentially, which we don't, would be an add-on to this, and then we can analyze that. Yeah, Mike.
Sure. We'd be happy to do that after we've had the opportunity for everyone to have a site visit and be able to visualize, and then,
But I'm saying, forget visual.
Yeah.
If it's just noise mitigation.
Well, I meant, and also noise. As I said, we're going to have the grinder running.
Yeah, he's got
So,
it.
you
I got
want
it.
to get the full picture, and then we can come back to you guys and say, hey, this is what we'd like you to consider.
But okay. But you're saying there's a chance that we go out there and we're like, it's quiet as a mouse. We don't need any plantings?
I don't know. I've never been out there to personally witness it. So all I know is what I've heard from a couple of members from the public and two noise studies that I saw. But let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get out there and do it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to be out there for that.
I appreciate that collaborative.
I think it's a good idea.
Definitely.
Is there any issue with the open meetings law, with us all doing this together?
Well, we
No,
already
it's a
decided
site
we're
plan.
not
No,
going to go with
site
it.
inspection.
Right?
Same thing.
Yeah, you're not going to talk.
No.
No, I was all for this being allowable. We had a discussion about this unrelated to Trempson's
We've done this
project.
before you even got on the board. so-
I've done it, we've done it many times with me on the board. It was brought up this
Grinder.
past, it was
You-
brought up
With the
this
grinder
past
going
year.
and-
No, what he's saying is, we actually, because Jen brought it up that she went to a training class, and you actually came up with a policy that.
It was voted on by the board.
Well, you're not supposed to go into detail on these site inspections. You're supposed to, you should already know that as planning.
No,
board
we said
members.
we wouldn't have a quorum.
Right.
If we could avoid it. Now, that's not saying for this particular one, we could have a quorum and it's an open meeting and you had mentioned the neighbors would be invited
Absolutely.
anyway.
I did say that.
We'll make it up as we go.
You don't make
Now,
important
if we have a
decisions.
CAB, they might, some of them might.
Yeah.
I think if
we'll
we
have a-
make it open, as
Right.
long as people can be there and know
My
about it.
recommendation would be to avoid the concern of violating the open meetings law, and we suggest, some dates or times, and we advertise them the way that we would a regular meeting.
Exactly.
We just do a special meeting.
Exactly.
That would avoid the question. I don't want, to get all the way to the end of the road and then have it blown up because we didn't comply with the open meetings law
Yeah.
on a questionable thing that I think we could resolve pretty easily.
And
I
also,
agree.
I think everybody looking and hearing at the same thing at the same time from all parties is going to be valuable, because I think part of what has been the problem here is just different realities. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So it will be, so to answer Mark's question, it will be an open meeting. Everyone's invited.
Well, if we're going to advertise it and everything else.
Yeah, good, that's good.
Yeah.
Schedule that now?
I don't know.
Please.
I think we should probably do the traffic study and.
Yeah, maybe, so we'll schedule it before we end, but sticking with the noise, so I'd like to, take another line. So we're gonna go check it out. There's gonna be probably some mitigation, maybe in planting coniferous trees. I've been researching remote continuous sound monitoring systems, because I think this is a case where it'd be very appropriate, because I think, one of the things that we've heard is there's a very important piece about respecting the hours that are going to be on the plan. So it says 8 to 4, and we want to know if it's going on at 7:30, and we can't have the code enforcement officer on speed dial to come out, on whatever morning it starts at 7:30. God forbid it does. So, would you be open to sort of installing one of those systems?
What's it called?
There's, I have a few brand names I was looking at, but it's basically, they can be powered in different ways. I think there's solar powered ones that you put it on the property line, and it's connected to, the network, 4G, whatever, and it has a decibel monitor, and it just sends a continuous stream of data, and then you can look at a report and see spikes and times and everything else. Now, there's things to control for. The town, is there's the highway.
Train.
All of that stuff, but there's also it's just data, right? And it could be valuable, and they have a lot of algorithms now that can weed all of that stuff out. You can sort of say, this is what this is.
Jay, why don't you send me the information? We'll look into it for sure. I'm not going to say no.
So, you have more?
No, there's this he said, she said thing between what we hear from the neighbors and what we're hearing from you, and I just would like to use data and science as much as possible.
Okay, we'll send it up, send it over.
The question is, you have a few different machines that you use, right, for the grinding. So
No, I think one grinder.
So we're only
One grinder and a screener. Right?
Let him ask,
Go ahead.
Because it's only going to be secondary grinding. So when we go there for the site visit, it's going to be the piece of equipment that you're going to be using on a site.
Yes.
Because obviously the bigger grinder that you had in there at one point is much louder than. Okay.
There was first grind that we've been.
The first grind,
we've been
right.
through that conversation.
Right.
Here in front of them.
Okay.
And there's no longer first grind.
No longer first grind, the same grinder that's been used in both studies, has been there for the last 4 years. The red one I saw when you did your site walk, in the same spot, more mark in that. We're delineating grinding equipment number 3. I got the backside, sorry. That's where it stays.
In the top
That's where
section.
That's where it's delineated, that's where it stays.
And elevation-wise, that's another.
Okay, so next, are we moving on to traffic?
Yeah.
So we'll pick a date after,
I have to worry about that.
at the end? Okay.
Yeah, so traffic next, are we moving on?
Is that my cue?
So it's about time.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to frame up who's representing here. So we did a traffic study at the request of the planning board. And then,
Speak into the mic. We need everything on the record, right?
sorry, so Tremson did a traffic study at the request of the planning board. And so I think you're here, sorry, from Ken, to explain your interpretation of our traffic study. I think that's what, right, yeah. So we did the traffic study, that was the, Mr. Chairman, you had said when you introduced him that you didn't perform the traffic study.
Yep. Ken Worsted with Creighton Manning Engineering. We're the traffic consultant acting on behalf of the board. You guys, I'm sure, have a long history with the project, and Collier's Engineering prepared a traffic study on behalf of the applicant that was submitted to the board some time ago. We reviewed that on behalf of the board and here to provide you with our consulting comments. Subsequent to that, Collier's has taken our comments and provided you with a response to that tonight. So that's kind of the outline as I see it. I'll quickly just go over my comments and then open it up to any questions, comments that you guys have. My review of the materials, I listed out all the materials that I had at the time and summarized some of the facts that they have in there, so you didn't have to dive into all the little details of it. You can see that in mine. Roughly 2/3 of the trucks that did come in and out of Libby Lane, 2/3 of that was going to and from Route 22. The other third went to the west, back towards the village and the town. The project had counted up how many trucks were coming in and out of Libby Lane. It was roughly about 70 trucks a day at that time in November. They had gone through an analysis of the Libby Lane Corbin intersection and to see how well it operates on a scale of A to F, A being really good, F being really bad. It was an A. There isn't a lot of traffic that goes through that intersection, so that's why it was operating almost as A. They looked at crashes at the Corbin Route 22 intersection. Nothing really stood out to me as unusual. Typical things: animals, failure to yield, following too closely. There was also noted that there weren't any truck-involved crashes at that intersection. The only crash that involved a truck was at the railroad, where the trailer became unhitched from the tractor and was hit by a train. In the analysis provided by the applicant, they had mentioned their preferred truck route would be to go out to Dover, go up to River Road, come out to Route 22 from that direction. That intersection is a 90-degree intersection. It's got a left turn lane. It's really much better to accommodate trucks. However, most of the traffic relative to trucks is going east directly to Route 22 along Corbin. It's the shortest route, doesn't go through any residential areas, and I think that's probably the best route aside from the angle of intersection that's there, because it gets them directly to the state highway as quickly as they can. From there, we looked at that, focused in on that intersection and identified some of the issues. One is the grade coming up to Route 22. The angle, it mainly makes it difficult to make a right turn to go southbound on Route 22. It makes it difficult to go northbound and make a left turn back onto Corbin. And there's a number of things that you could do. Some of that's outside of the control of the applicant. One of it would be to restrict the turns, there, saying you can't turn right to go south, you can't come northbound and turn left to go in. Another option would be to go up to River Road and create a jug handle there so that any of those trucks that wanted to make the turn could go up to there, make a turn, come back down. Now they're coming southbound, going in and out of Corbin Road with the easier movement. Creating a road through the Highway Department, connecting up to River Road. The Highway Department obviously has trucks coming in and out, connecting out from there. Taking Corbin Road and going straight up the hill, making it steeper effectively, and then coming into Route 22 at a 90-degree intersection, creating another Y to that intersection. So if you wanted to go north, you kind of turn left, go north, creating a new road to the south, cutting through what would be probably town or village Pawling property and what I think is school property. And then widening Route 22 to accommodate a turn out of Corbin to go southbound and obviously come up northbound, just providing more space, for that. So those were generally our comments. The applicant did respond to those. You guys obviously just got that tonight, so you'll want some time to go through that and look at those responses. So that's a quick summary of my overview, and happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Anybody have any questions for Ken?
Thank you.
No, thank you, Ken.
I mean,
well, maybe.
Yeah, I have one. I mean, it seems like you're presenting a bunch of different options here for mitigation. I mean, what is your primary recommendation of action to be taken?
It largely depends on what's possible. If I were to take into, I certainly don't think that you can force the applicant to go and purchase property or force the school district or the village to donate property to improve the condition. I think the biggest thing that you have in control is highway department property and working with DOT turn restrictions at that intersection. Right now, I had shown in my analysis a truck turning movement. I think the applicant has identified that the trucks use a lot of the shoulder width and I think suggests that a truck can be accommodated. I would suggest that they show us more of that information. My description of the condition was very generic, but I would like to see from them how they show a truck making those, turning movements in and out.
There's actually no safe way for a tractor trailer to make those movements coming out of Corbin to head southbound or going into Corbin heading southbound with a car coming up the hill or a car going down the hill, because you need to take the whole opposite lane in order to make the southbound. And if a car is coming southbound on 22 and wants to go down Corbin, they'd have to wait for that truck to get out of their way to make that turn. The nose of the truck is into the northbound lane on 22 when it is making the southbound turn. So they're not going to show you how it's a safe way to make that turn either direction in the tractor trailer.
And certainly that can be, we see that in small gas stations and, convenience food stores where it's a small site, but you have a delivery truck that comes once a week or, at 11 o'clock at night, and it can be accommodated because the use of that area isn't intense, at that time. So if you had a use that was generating a couple of trucks a day, or they were at off-peak times, that off-tracking could be considered acceptable. If it's happening throughout the course of the day with, the normal traffic volumes, then it may be considered, unacceptable.
Well, one of the options for them, and they do it, is to use the rest areas, the pull-offs, as the jug handle, if you will.
Yep.
You go into the rest area, pull off, and you can then make your turn back onto 22 southbound.
Yep. That's about a mile north of that intersection, and that's an option.
It's just past River Road, right?
Yep. Correct.
And North Quaker.
Ken, are you going to go over this report that we just got today?
Yes, I can kind of give you some quick summaries of it.
Do it now. Ron hasn't seen this report either, right?
No, we got it tonight.
We just got it tonight. So there's still a lot to digest.
I have one question
With the
on
response.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The traffic counts. You have the Corbin Road weekday average 1763 and Libby Lane 142 percentages of cars and buses. Is there any conclusion on that volume as to whether or not it falls within the normal guidelines of roads of that size?
In my opinion, that's not a lot of traffic. 1,700 cars on Corbin Road, you could fit more on it. And it's not so much the size of the road itself, it's really more the intersections. Libby Lane doesn't have very much traffic on it. If the River Road intersection were at Corbin Road, I don't think we would have much of this discussion at all. But it's because of that angled intersection, I think, is the most critical, issue that I see with that area. But I don't get heartburn looking at 1,700 cars a day on that road.
We're saying it's not a volume issue, it's this turning issue.
Correct. It's not and you kind of see that in the Libby Lane, Corbin Road intersection level of service, that it's an A. You could fit more cars and trucks, through there before it starts to, degrade. Mm-hmm. They didn't do an analysis of Corbin and Route 22, but I would suspect that it's not a level service F. It might be a C or a D, based on the volumes coming through there. Still nothing that is critical in terms of capacity that would warrant, say, a traffic signal, there. Mm-hmm. But it's the angle of the intersection that I think, is the troubling part.
But maybe it's not mutually exclusive, these options. Maybe, there's a longer term plan. I mean, I've hated that turn since I've lived here. It's just in my little car. Like, I just don't like it. I don't think anybody loves that turn. going out. Going in, it's nice. But, so, and, you know, that option you have of having a southern thing that goes through the village, and then Trinity Pawling owns a little strip you'd have to get through. But, you know, so I don't know, who knows what they might entertain. But it seems like a longer-term thing, and you want to get the state involved, and I think that would be good for everybody. Maybe this is the catalyst for that, but in the short term, you know, you're saying we could put up a sign that says no trucks turning right or something along those lines?
That would be the minimalist challenge or impact, I think, to it all, is to restrict the turning movements there.
And then specifically for this project, we could put a note on the plat or conditional restriction or something that says all trucks must go to the mile north, turn around and come down, and that's just the deal. And
Yep.
I don't know how we enforce it, but
It does translate into an enforcement issue. You know,
It always
you're going to
does.
have somebody who,
Well,
you know,
also there's a liability on the company, because if that's on the site plan and there's an accident and they violated that site plan, they're on the hook. They're gonna be-
Can I just ask the applicant, one of the options is the highway garage, and I know that was investigated briefly. Is there any feedback from the applicant on that happening?
Well, we only got this report last week, so it hasn't been fully
It's
digested.
it's been talked about for a year, John.
I know, but
So-
I haven't,
so-
Greg.
Okay,
The
well,
town-
I'm asking
the
the
town?
applicant here, is it?
We did not have, we didn't have any substantive discussions afterwards, then litigation came in during those discussions. So, ended that pretty fast.
So we could revisit it.
I don't think it's feasible now. Wasn't anything really seriously looked at.
Okay, just,
But that sounds to me like that, you're saying that's probably the second least barriered solution, is to potentially go through that highway property.
certainly on one side of that property line, you have a trucking and, you know, maintenance type of business. And on the other side, you have a trucking and maintenance type of, you know, business, and they're going like this. So they're neighbors, but they are going in different directions. And the neighbor to the north goes out to a 90-degree intersection with a left turn lane, and the neighbor to the south goes out to an intersection that is skewed on a grade and has good sight distance, but is a challenge, particularly to go south.
Option that doesn't involve building a new road.
is there any benefit? I mean, that, you know, that's town property. You know, we all own that.
Village.
Or it's the village?
no, it's town.
It's town.
The one on the south is the village. They have to cut through where the sewer stuff is, but the dump, it's the dump. Oh, sorry, transfer station.
Strike that from
So what is there a benefit to the town to having that happen?
They were gonna
anyway?
grind all of the town's debris that actually exists on the property now, and in the future, any storm damage, any things like that was gonna be supposedly taken care of by Trempson as a part of the agreement.
So there would be
There's a
a
benefit.
quid pro quo. Is there any impact of like?
Yeah.
My recollection was there may have been some concerns about wetlands and encroaching on the wetland as far as getting the highway roads where they need to be in order to accommodate that. And again, I'm thinking back here because we only really touched on this pretty briefly. But obviously, you know, if that was looked at very seriously, we'd make arrangements, because the municipality, you know, a municipality isn't permitted to just benefit a landowner without consideration. So you'd have to figure out exactly what that consideration was and whether or not it was equal. You can't just give an easement away; it'd be a gift. And there's a prohibition against gifts. So we would have to, you know, thread that needle and make sure that you know, that was appropriate. But I think, you know, that discussion would happen if, you know, I'll just pose a hypothetical, right? You require a no right turn. And depending on the amount of traffic generated by the use, if it becomes economically inefficient to drive a mile up the road and turn around and come back, then I could see the applicant saying, hey, look, I'd really like to seriously consider that, cutting through the highway garage because there's some economic, benefit there. And just my 2 cents on, experience with development projects. But, if those are the two options that you guys are seriously considering, the first one would be the primary. The second would be something that would require quite a bit of discussion. It's not impossible. Just we'd have to jump through those hoops and make sure it actually works.
And just one more benefit would be if there is an easement or allowance for the highway department to come down to Corbin Road, they don't have to navigate River Road over to West Dover, kind of windy, narrow section, et cetera.
Safer way out too.
Correct.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, Ken.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay. John, Todd, Tyler, anything else to add?
Nope.
Just confirm and ask the attorneys here, because the last thing it came up, I felt like in recent correspondence, can we close the book on the use question, or has it been closed?
So, Everett's last memo from December 16th, we have 2 items that are still open on the use. One is the back part of MJD, and the last part is TNA. Those are the 2 open items on use.
In his memo, December 16th, those are non-conforming uses.
Right. Well, everything that isn't. So if you recollect, the original determination for Tremson happened back in 2013. So we tracked that for the board and prepared a memo, or at least a history of the uses as they existed. And the attempt from our office for, on behalf of the town was that there was a process that was going on back in 2013, 14, and 15. And there's a record of the planning board having a determination that the Tremson use fit within the forest nursery definition under the zoning code, and acknowledging that the rest of the uses on the property were pre-existing non-conforming. So, the open questions, from our office, or at least from our perspective, and from the building department, are you had landscape contractors that were on that property, and MJD, and so we believe MJD. There's an identifiable footprint of when before they came onto the property and where they are now, and it's our position that TNA is not a landscape company. There's TruVac, there's activities going on that are not landscape related. They're just straight construction or other type of contractor. So if we could resolve those 2 items, then I think we're very close to the finish line.
So and then is there a question related to the expansion or of MJD? Is that?
Well, that's what that's what I'm
that's
getting
what you're
at.
pointing out is the expansion.
Yeah.
So what's the path to resolution there?
Well, they'd have to come back to their original footprint, and then TNA is just not a landscape contractor. It's just not a permitted use. There's a record since 2015.
So to the applicant, are those possibilities? TNA is no longer a part of the site because it's not conforming use, and MJD gets restricted to their 2014 footprint.
Well, we addressed that in our responses.
You said no expansion.
Where does it say that?
In all caps.
Yeah, but that was from last year.
That's before
The new responses, Jay, come on.
the New Year's resolution.
Yes, the New Year's resolution.
Sorry.
I said, no, we'd throw their asses off the property if we had to.
It's a brave new world. So
Only lowercase though, just in 2025.
right, we're only lowercase in 2025. But I guess that's the question.
And then MJD, obviously, if it's a matter of you squeeze them in or we don't get approved, then guess what? They're going to get squeezed. We don't agree, but we're not going to fight it.
So let's do this.
Let's figure this out.
Let's figure it out now.
Yeah.
We're trying to get everything
Okay.
done so we move quickly. Can we get the next version of the site plan, have them put back in the box, the 2014 box? Because it's not, this is a proposed site plan, right? And it's the big box. We need the box to be the 2014 box and have TA not a part of the program. And then we can close the book on use, right?
That ends it.
That's it. Or we're going to swirl on this, and that nobody wants to swirl on that.
I hear you.
Tyler, what do you think?
Well, yeah, we'd have to sit there and actually look at what, we'd have to look at what you guys are asking about. No. Sorry, just so I can see which one we're all looking at here, because you guys are on the side.
Well, we got to figure this out, so we're going to work together on this.
Like I said, I don't know.
Well, these are your tenants, so.
I don't know this part.
I think what he's saying is he doesn't have the little box in front of
Yeah,
him.
I mean, like,
We-
I
we
stand
get
up here
these
in a
screens
public
on so
forum
that-
and tell the tenant that they're evicted, like, I have to.
Wait a second, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry, there's too much, please, in the audience, please. I can't hear him.
Just stand up here and say, okay, afterwards, the town planning board said to evict you guys, like, I have to understand what that means.
100%. So we're not asking for an answer on
We're not
it,
asking
on
for
that. You have to think
eviction.
about it. There can be a grace period. There can be
I just want, so we can address this part of it.
Yeah.
This has always been, it's hard to show without the other ones. This has always been an area where there's trucks, equipment, and things like that. This area here that we're talking about area 1 for the record, and MJD. This is just clearer. This has been made much clearer and cleaner than it has in the past. There's the shots before show it all overgrown. There's trucks all in here. There's stuff all in this area. It's been delineated where it is now. You can't go further than that.
I think Todd and Ron have discussed this in advance. Todd?
For MJD, we discussed this. I think one of the concerns right now is also the bins that are established. So
Right.
that was an idea that to remove the bins. But what I think the 2014 plan versus this plan is there's two different scales that are going on. And that this layout, if you pull those the bins in and remove those, you're getting very close to the 2014 layout. What we can do though is we'll take the exact 2014 layout, put it in a different color on this for discussionary, moving forward.
And when are we going to do that, Todd?
Well, we'll do that for the next submission.
Okay.
When you say the 2014 layout, do you mean the
Can we do that
aerial?
before we do the site inspection?
Yeah, we could do that.
Can you get that done?
We could put that on there, yeah. I think the worry is the second anybody sees Tremson and then sees bins like this, that all of a sudden we're gonna sell mulch out of these or something like this. This is MJD's bins, or that commercial retail is gonna.
No,
come
we're
in.
worried about expansion. That's what we're talking about.
And so
That's
these
the bottom
bins-
line.
These bins were established because sometimes the trucks came home with, a little
Millings.
bit of
They got millings in them, yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of millings on this road. I mean, everybody. So a little bit of there's a little salt in that one. It's not for retail sale or anything like that. So, but if these need to be, just so everybody's on the same page about it, if these need to be moved, if these need to be brought in, taken out of there.
All right, so Todd, we could do the 2014 overlay?
Yes, the overlay. It would be, there was no aerial in 2014. It was an actual plan, 2014.
I mean,
Unless you want to use the aerial.
Well, I'm asking what you're going to use as a basis, the aerial or the plan?
I was going to use this conceptual plan that was done and submitted at that time, that was being discussed at this board.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
Yep.
that's.
Okay. So when could you get that done?
Within the next couple of days, I can have it sent out.
Okay. All right.
Definitely in advance if we do a site walk next week, we could definitely have it in advance
I
of
want it
that.
before we do a site walk.
Yeah, understood.
All right,
Well-
so let's talk about a site walk. Can we do that now? Mark, is that okay?
Yeah.
For the record, if you want to look at that noise monitoring system, it's NTI Audio, and the product is Noise Scout, unattended noise monitoring.
NTI Audio.
That's the company.
You could send them that link,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I can, but I haven't been communicating directly, so I have to.
Oh, that's right.
It's just faster.
NTI
Audio Noise Scout is the
Okay.
name of the product.
All right, we'll look at it. Thank you.
All right. So what do we want to do here? Site
visit.
inspection, public meeting. We need 2 weeks to notice the public?
Yeah. It just depends on what day.
What do you mean?
Do we have a cutoff for, we just have to figure out what the cutoff is for publication, that's all.
Right, yeah, it's just a couple days.
Right, exactly, and that would satisfy.
I could do
so.
Wednesday.
The next Wednesday?
Ooh, I like Wednesday.
What time?
Sharing schedules over here.
Looking at my schedule.
I can
Anytime.
I mean, I can.
Is Wednesday good?
For work, I'm out of town.
Wednesday
What?
doesn't work.
No good.
No good.
No good.
No, not Wednesday. Sorry.
Okay.
I have I'm taking my daughter to court that day, not for a bad thing, but for a class for high school, so I'm not.
That's not good.
I would have got it.
It all comes together now.
Tuesday?
She wants to. She wants to. Tell her no. I already told her. So I'm not paying for it.
Thursday?
Thursday works.
Thursday's better for me.
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday, the 27th,
That I could do.
That I could do.
time.
During the day or
Yeah, you want to do in the evening?
during the evening?
Yeah, it's got to be within the working hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Between 3 and 6, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock's good for me.
I can do that.
I can do that.
I think we're getting warmer weather, because if it's this cold.
Thursday, the,
Can we do 3:30? I have a 4:30.
Yeah, next week's gonna be warmer.
okay, Thursday, the 27th at 3:30.
Is that enough time, or do you need more time, Jay?
That's enough time.
Is it 3:30 okay with you, Mark?
Yeah, 3:30 I can do.
And, okay.
Can we put something in it is an active, site, so can we put something in the advertisement to meet where's the best place to meet out there? So if public does come, that they're not just driving around the site.
Would
Yeah.
be NJD, right? That would be the best, that would be the
I'd have
best
to just
spot to
let that
meet.
business know, since they do rent, but that would be the most.
That has the
Okay.
parking and.
So you don't have people coming down there when the grinder's running.
Yeah, that's what I was dangerous.
How about like the road area just in front of that building that has nothing around it? It's like really quiet.
Oh, I know you.
Yeah, Mr. Gould.
Just that road area right in front would be enough. No
Yeah,
one would
that
even
would
have
be-
to pull into MJD, right?
I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just safe right there. There's
Okay.
nothing going on right there.
No.
Parking.
Can we describe that for the public? So we're saying Thursday, the 27th at 3:30 on which
I'll
road?
work on it with John.
Yeah, okay.
We'll figure that out.
And it's BYO.
Put a sign out or
We'll
something.
put
right?
signs. Yeah.
It's BYO binoculars and BYO decibel meters.
In military grade.
Military grade. Which military is the
I
question?
just don't even, I'm not going to touch that.
I don't want any more
John.
questions.
Okay, and now that we have a consent to request the court extend the time, which I'm confident that the judge will appear at the next meeting.
And what are we going to know about the time extension?
I just put it on the record. Oh, you mean from the court?
From the court, yeah.
Well, I'll send a letter tonight on consent, and the court will get back to us right away.
Okay.
If not, I would be shocked.
What are we asking for?
We're asking to extend everything out. Well, we're going to ask for 60 days on the litigation piece. We're extending the shot clock 45 days.
Oh, I got that, but I didn't hear so 60 days.
Yeah.
Mike, do you think that's reasonable or?
Yeah, we could definitely, if we can keep it moving, we could get it wrapped up before then.
All right.
I think so.
There's a lot of prep that goes on.
I think we're close.
Good. We're happy.
Would they be on the March 3rd agenda, or would they, after the site inspection, make changes?
Put them on the March 3rd and no matter what.
Yeah. Not the 3rd, no, the one after.
The one after?
Yeah, because then we got to prepare everything and submit it. And try to submit it timely for once.
Yeah.
On by me.
All right, you guys are bringing the corned beef and cabbage?
Yeah, and I'll be cutting into
Everyone
the
wear
drinking
green.
time.
Is that actually St.
That's
Patty's
St.
Day?
Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's no good.
It's a national holiday. I'm a quarter Irish.
That's
Oh,
right.
man.
Say, like,
Is it possible to, I mean, that's our regular scheduled meeting, right?
holiday.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not, I won't throw water on St. Patrick's Day. If there's some other day you guys would otherwise consider anyway, you know.
No, it's
That's
fine.
just not,
Street have a
you know.
meeting March 10th and,
No, I'm joking around.
okay, Monday night.
That's a regular meeting?
No.
No.
Oh.
No, but I was saying if we didn't do the 17th, then our meeting would be on March 10th.
We could do that if you guys want to do that.
March 10th, you'll be able to.
Wait, we have a meeting on March 10th?
No, saying move the 3rd to the
Move
10th,
it and just have a meeting on March 10th.
potentially.
So two meetings in 2 weeks in a row.
Well, we actually didn't get anything in today for the 3rd, so we could just have a meeting on March 10th for the month of March.
Oh, cancel the 3rd, cancel the 17th, and combine it into the 10th? That works.
The 10th would be great.
Want to do that?
Yeah, we would
Yeah,
be,
well, all right, let's do the 10th.
then everybody can celebrate the holiday.
Well, we're having a parade this Saturday, so.
Yeah, that's right. I took off.
St. Patrick's.
That's your parade this
Village.
Saturday?
Yeah.
Celebrate the holiday. Okay.
3:10.
All right, everybody out.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Everybody, thank you. See you next.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, we do.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
So approval of the minutes of January 6, 2025.
I'd like to make a motion.
Motion by Jen,
The
second.
bitten, yep.
Second by Mark, all in favor? Aye. Discussion? All right, passed. Adjournment?
A motion to
Oh, new
adjourn.
business. Do we have any new business?
I don't think so.
Anybody?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, Mark? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
True, I did get another phone call from.
No.